All right, welcome to Postmortem Radio. I'm your host Oz, joined again by my esteemed colleagues. We've got the blonde in front, Catie. How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine. See, you're decked out in Batman.
That's right. That's right.
All right, so I guess there's no secret to what our theme is tonight. And joining us now, also from Horror Hound Magazine, JK. How you doing? He is not vengeance.
I'm good. I'm learning how to spell though, because I can't spell vengeance for some reason.
All right.
It's spelled Batman.
Or is it spelled Riddler?
Riddle me this, JK. I don't know.
Well, if you watch the Batman, you will.
Riddle me this, riddle me that. Who's afraid of
the big black bats?
All right. Well, yeah, as you can tell, our theme tonight is, I know this is a horror podcast primarily, but you know what? We're fans and nerds, and we get into all kinds of things. So, with the Batman coming out and we all saw it, I thought, what the hell? Let's do a first for Postmortem Radio. Let's do a Batman episode. So all three of us have gone to see the film at least. Well, I'll be the one. I'll hide in the corner. I've only seen it once. Jay, how many times have you seen it?
I've seen it twice. I'm going to talk like this the entire show.
Okay. All right. Well, channel our inner Bruce Wayne.
Or I could be all moody and brooding like the new Batman. Oh, you're not my
emo.
Oh yeah, you got to get you don't have any hair to get in your face.
I know. That's Catie. Catie's got to do that. There you go. Well, you know what, Oz, one of the things that I love about it, and I found out later on, I didn't make the connection the first time I saw it, was one of the reasons why Robert Pattinson got it is because he played Kurt Cobain before, and Batman is modeled after Kurt Cobain in this film. The brooding, everything that goes along with it. It's one of the reasons why Matt Reeves cast him as this. And I think it's a really interesting take on Batman for sure.
I'm glad you told me that, because honestly, ever since the announcement, I've wondered why they cast him as Batman. I got to be honest, I'm not a Robert Pattinson fan. I can't stand pretty much anybody that was in any of the Twilight movies. I can't stand Kristen Stewart. I can't stand Robert Pattinson. I was able to make it through the underwater movie, as bad as it was with Kristen Stewart. And it's not bad for the reasons why you would think it's bad. It's bad because it's alien underwater, right down to her. She's basically freaking Ridley. But anyway, so it was kind of interesting. But then as screenshots started coming out and takes, I kind of was like, I could see why. I mean, he looks good in the cowl. I mean, he does. I mean, he looks good. So, I mean, I kind of, that's one of the reasons why I decided I was going to give it a chance. I've seen every other Batman movie. I grew up watching Batman. So what the hell, Catie, how many times did you see this one?
I've only seen it once. Okay, so I don't feel so bad. Yeah, I saw it a press screening like 5 days before it came out and whatnot, and I loved it. I really like Robert Pattinson. I know everyone just pigeonholes him to Twilight. I love what he does with what he did with the Safdie brothers. I love what he did with Cronenberg. I thought he was exceptional in The Lost City of Z. I think he really like tried to step away from like some leading man roles and do more supporting roles, and that's where I thought he shined. And then he was starting to do get back into leading man roles because he's just trying to get over this whole thing from Twilight, which, no offense, Anna Kendrick was in Twilight. She is an Oscar-nominated actress. So whenever anyone tries to downplay Twilight, don't get me wrong, it is a piece of shit. But Robert Pattinson, I think, is honestly an exceptional actor. I think this is only, we're only touching the surface of what he's going to accomplish. I think Kristen Stewart has honestly done a lot of roles that I think have been great, like Clouds of Sils Maria, the movie she did with Julianne Moore, when Julianne Moore is going through Alzheimer's and she plays her daughter. I think again, she's like doing some really great supporting roles. And then she, she does some leads where, Charlie's Angels, hey, we all need to make a buck. If she can do it, go for it. But again, she's now an Oscar nominated actress. It's like, I think they both are really, surpassing, all these, again, just been pigeonholed in these films. But I mean, Kristen Stewart was working with Fincher before she did Twilight. So, I mean, people forget that too. But I thought Robert Pattinson was amazing as Batman. I also love the fact that in this Batman, you actually see the Batman, you see his persona more, I think, than in any other version of the Batman series. Like what? This is the 9th Batman movie, 11th, whatnot, if you count like the
right around 9th or 10th, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
It's right around there. Yeah.
And I mean, usually it's like, so much focus is on his enemies and all the villains and whatnot. I thought this actually showed a majority of him with the enemies, or with the villains, like obviously sprinkled in with their own like little but I feel like, except for the Riddler, every single time there was a villain in the film, Batman was either in the scene or like watching while the scene was going on, which you don't see in any of the other, at least that I think, in any of the Batman films. I also, to me, this was, I honestly feel like this is more of a detective serial killer
It's a
film.
neo-noir.
That's what I was waiting for that.
Which
because
I even brought my little, it's like, it started off with feel of Watchmen. Then it got the, Seven and Blade Runner vibe to it. Definitely. But I don't feel like Matt Reeves or, I don't feel like they like intentionally like gave like huge nods to those films, but more like sampling enough that the audience kind of got the feel of it, but it wasn't like exactly what that film was supposed to be. I thought this was great. I honestly, this is the first film, the new film that I've seen this year that I could definitely would say is could be nominated for Oscars.
Oz, can I just add something real quick?
Sure.
Yeah.
So two things. One, okay. Jackson Rathbone, who also is in Twilight, he is amazing in Anthony de Blasi's Dread. So that's another Twilight actor you need to check out. And if you haven't seen Kristen Stewart in Spencer, Spencer is a psychological horror movie wrapped up in a biography because it's loosely adapted. But anyway, getting back to this, one thing Catie had said that I completely agree with, and I think this is why we're going to see this as a trilogy for the Batman series, is the fact that Batman, this film is a mixture of The Long Halloween and Year One. That's what it is. And there's other things sprinkled in from the comic books and influences from comic book stories. And I haven't read them in a long time, so don't quote me on where it is or anything like that. People be so anal retentive about that stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's real simple that we're seeing him in his developmental stage going up against. And I think the Riddler is a wonderful foil. I don't necessarily agree with you, Catie, on the fact that they don't go off of Fincher's work on stuff. I think he takes a lot from them when it comes to this. But I have no issue with that because he doesn't sit there and go frame for frame on what it is. He really blends his own feel in with that. And I'm not against someone replicating the feel of Seven when it comes to the visuals and it comes to the serial killer, basing them kind of off the Zodiac, off of what the villain was in Seven, John Doe was in Seven. I mean, I kind of like what I saw with it, but Oscars, I agree with you, and I could see them with definitely within a few categories for the Oscars. But this is really a startup point for Batman as he's developing who he is. So you want to be able to develop the roots. Any great franchise, and I'll go to Harry Potter because Daniel Radcliffe is blazed his own path away from Harry Potter. He's going to be Weird Al Yankovic for freaking sake. Yeah, he's gonna be it's gonna be awesome. But the same thing goes for the Batman movie. It's starting off where he's kind of an infant in the city, questioning himself, and he's moving forward, Oz and Katie. And I can't wait to see the next one when the Penguin's more established. We start to see the Joker. Spoiler alert, it's not Two-Face, it's the Joker. Right, folks?
Yeah, and
just let you know. So
because that what you touched on, Katie, when you mentioned that it was more like back to a detective story. That's the first thing that I noticed when I was sitting there in the theater. I was like, this is the first Batman that I have seen that actually gives me the feel of watching or of reading the old classic Batman from the Batman when it was Detective Comics. Right. You know, it was more of, you know, it wasn't so much of a like really a superhero type thing. It was more like he was a detective who just happened to have a different costume on. And you know, I think Robert Pattinson he had a great look as the Batman and the Cow. Now I am notorious for separating my Batman from Bruce Wayne, because there are actors that have seen portrayed Batman that I thought were good as Batman, but weren't as good as in the Bruce Wayne aspect of it. And he is, I liked him as Batman. I need to see a little bit. I mean, it wasn't bad by any means. I'm not saying it was bad by any means as Bruce Wayne. Just wasn't my favorite as Bruce Wayne. But still not. But I need to see more.
Bruce Wayne.
I know it's still young Bruce Wayne. I understand it's young Bruce Wayne and all, but the thing about this though is I think it's the first one that really is to show, like I think they even mentioned it in the movie that Batman is his true self. Bruce Wayne is when he's really got his mask on.
Right.
And I think that's why maybe it's intentional that he seemed a little bit out of place as Bruce Wayne, because maybe he was supposed to feel he doesn't feel comfortable himself as Bruce Wayne. I mean, maybe that's how it's supposed to be. I don't know, but that's my take on it. But I enjoyed the film. I mean, Colin Farrell was great as Penguin. The Riddler was amazing. I don't know if the Joker cameo at the end was really necessary. I mean, I guess that's to, you know, lead people to like, hey, there's going to be another, but I think everybody knows there's going to be another one. I don't think we needed that to know there was going to be a follow-up. And number one, my favorite thing of this entire film was the Batmobile, and this one was by far my favorite Batmobile in any. I mean, except for, I mean, I've always got a special place in my heart for the original from the 60s TV show, but this is my favorite Batmobile I've ever seen.
The souped up Camaro.
Yes. Oh my God. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
And I mean, that car chase scene between the Batman and fucking Penguin. Sorry, I cursed. That is legendary. It was great. I was watching this and I'm like, I am watching history. Like, this is amazing. It was so George Miller, like in all the Mad Maxes, especially the last one. It's like you just like that car comes out of the blade, you know, the
well, it's
flames.
so funny because we're sitting there because Janelle's all like, I mean, I'm sitting there watching, and she was so, I guess, thought that Batman was done. Thought it was, and I had seen the trailer, so I had seen the shot where it comes out of so I was just like, just wait. And I'm just waiting for that scene to come out, and then it comes through, and she legitimately was like, "Oh shit!" You know, I mean, it was so cool to hear her. Because I mean, I wish I hadn't seen that so that I could see it for the first time coming that way, because I could have experienced it the same way. But it was really, really cool because, you know, she went there with us we did it as a family kind of thing, but I mean, she hasn't seen like all the Batmans like we have. I mean, she just kind of went with us, but she got engrossed into the story. She enjoyed it too. Like you said, Zoe was an amazing Catwoman. And I love the fact that two things that I love that were kind of switched in this film. Number one, Thomas Wayne and everything has always been like the squeaky clean, guy who, no, straight arrow, everything. And this one I love how they made that maybe he wasn't as squeaky clean and is such a good guy as you think he was. Maybe. Well, and I also love the fact, just real quick, that Zoe, the Catwoman, wasn't necessarily a villain yet in this one. She was kind of like, she was almost the premature Robin to Batman in this film that Robin eventually ends up being, when it ends up happening.
I got a fact for you about that after Katie's done. I got a fact for you about that.
Get your facts out. Katie, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, Zoe Kravitz is now look, sorry, not sorry. Michelle Pfeiffer will always be my number one Catwoman. Like, this is the one that it's like, I bow down to you, Selena Kyle. I do think that Zoe did an exceptional job and was excellent as both Selena Kyle and Catwoman. That
I agree with that as well.
Yeah, and it's one of like, you have Bruce Wayne, who one of the things about this that I cannot remember, and a little bit with the Christian Bale ones, but he's such. Yes, it's the whole like, oh, he's emo, but it's just the fact that he's like, oh, just give my money away. I don't care. It's like, you've been a billionaire orphan, like, for the past 20 years. You have no idea what it would be like to live Selena Kyle's life and do what she's been doing. All of these things, the reason why you're still alive is because you are rich.
Like, are you related to the Riddler, Katie?
I know.
Come on, you're giving away the whole plot of the movie.
I'm not giving away everything. But yeah, I think Zoe,
especially if you're talking to movies,
absolutely amazing job. And what you were saying when you were, you wish you hadn't seen that scene when the car goes through the fire.
Yeah.
I wish, and I was actually talking to a friend of mine with this at dinner, I wish that they had kept the Penguin's identity secret, because one of the things, like, Colin Farrell is completely, in every way, shape, and form, voice, face, stature, walk, everything, completely unrecognizable. Right. And I wish that I would have gone in and not known who he was the entire time.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I remembered him being cast as the Penguin, but by the time I went to the movie, I had forgotten. And Janelle was sitting there, she's like, "Who is that? Who is playing the Penguin?" And I honestly couldn't remember until the end, and I was like, "Shit, it was freaking Colin Farrell." That's right, I remember that now. So I did kind of get to see it and appreciate it, which is funny because Tuesday night at the pub here, they had Batman trivia, and that was one of the questions. The second question was who played the Penguin in the Batman. This one, and we got that. Everybody got
this one.
Yeah, everybody got most of them right because it was all written down. I hate when they do trivia that way, because all you got to do is get on your phone and Google stuff. We knew most of them, but yeah, it was kind of fun. But
I will say this, Oz. I will say this, and this goes to both of you. One thing that I was a little disappointed with the Batman. There was a few things I was disappointed with the Batman on, but one is the fact that the editing really hurt my head at times. The simple fact that Batman jumps off the top of a building, flies like a flying squirrel, hits a bridge, hits the ground, rolls, and then gets up, and we cut to the scene where he's back to being Batman, hurt my head a lot. Now, I'm being very nitpicky, mind you. I get it. But the fact also is that while the car chase was immaculate, there were plenty of set pieces in there that led to nothing. In fact, I want to give credit to Ryan George with Pitch Meeting for bringing this up, because if you haven't seen Pitch Meeting, watch Pitch Meeting. It's the best. And he brought up the fact during the Pitch Meeting session that, you look at this and the whole scenes, there are some scenes where it leads to absolutely nothing. We find out the Penguin, it turns into a joke. There's great things, but the editing is so uneven in this film.
True.
And maybe that's a credit with the different styles. We talked about Mad Max and Seven and the neo-noir, and it's a very, very, you could have trimmed 15 minutes off that movie and I
Mhm.
think we would have been
Yeah.
very good with it. And one other thing that was brought up was the idea of Catwoman. You know, the whole theme of the movie is different perspectives of vengeance and how everyone sees vengeance differently. And I also, Oz, am glad that the Catwoman wasn't a villain for it. She plays kind of the equal, the partner to Batman on this. But again, it's all about the ideas of vengeance when it comes forward. And that's one of the things I do love about it is part of that vengeance storyline is we don't focus like in most of them about Bruce's origins. We talk about the Arkhams and the Wayne's origins,
Yes.
which we never see, especially Martha. We never hear anything. And if that's true, that Arkham Asylum is named after her family lineage, that opens up a whole nother can of worms when it comes to this. But I love the fact that Thomas Wayne is squeaky clean, even if it's done by accident, it's not intentional.
Right.
But also the fact that we're focusing on the family and it's not just them being executed in the alley, and that's the extent of it. We're going to learn more probably in the second movie about Bruce's the 20 years before, but I'm glad that it's not about Bruce Wayne as well.
Well,
And
and
it's funny you mentioned that about the squirrel, because I said the same thing about Flying Squirrel during I was like, I said that in the theater, so that's funny. Yeah, okay.
and sorry, and I went on the tangent regarding Catwoman and all that stuff, but yes, Thomas Wayne, this is I find this very interesting because along with Joker, this is the second time that you basically have this archangel that is Thomas Wayne knocked off his pedestal. And I think that's very, very interesting. And I actually think that Batman could have been called Batman Sins of the Father, because I mean, you have everything going on with Bruce, you have stuff going on with Selina. I think there's a definite connection to the Riddler and the reason why stuff happened between Thomas Wayne and all that stuff. They didn't necessarily say it in the film, but I think it's somewhat obvious who the Riddler's father is. And I also cannot wait for the sequel or the third one, because I don't think it's coincidence that Selina Kyle and the Riddler were both at Arkham Orphanage basically at the same time.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you on that. There's a lot of coincidences. There's a lot of ground that Matt Reeves lays for us going forward. And one of the things that's a big talk is that we're building towards the Court of Owls storyline, which is a huge storyline in the Batman universe about the power structure of Gotham City and how really, you know, it's suspected that Thomas Wayne was a part of this and Martha Wayne was a part of this. But they're an uber scary and uber powerful group that goes through the lineage of the city, kind of like the League of Shadows for the Nolan series. That's what it is, except it's more localized with it. But it's really interesting because, you know, that 20 years before, you're going to see a lot of stuff in the second one. It's almost like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I love, Catie, how you call it the Batman Sins of the Father. I feel like we're setting up like the Lord of the Rings trilogy here with the different subnames that are coming with it. You know, what do you do for the Batman 2? You know, where are you going to go with that? But it's got so much groundwork laid, and Colin Farrell being casted. And this is why a lot of people complained, oh, why are you doing it? Why are you putting on prosthetics? Because everyone in this film is a quality actor.
Yes.
They can pull off the parts. It's not Danny DeVito acting like Danny DeVito for the visual aspect of it. It's not anything like that. It's all quality. Even Zoe Kravitz, who is brandy new in the whole landscape of all the other talent around her. She's brand new compared to the rest of them. She does a phenomenal job of selling herself, independence, feminine aspect. She's got everything. She's tough. She's sexy. She's everything that you could want. And she stands out on screen. But Colin Farrell, for me, stole the show out of everyone that was in there.
I've always been a big Colin Farrell fan. Yeah. I mean, everything I've seen him in, I've absolutely loved.
Since Tigerland, I've
great.
I mean, I think that to me, like, I mean, he's always a good looking guy, so you're gonna have that stuff. But Tigerland really showed it's like, okay, it's not just look, like you can actually act, you guys. Like, you need to watch that. Zoe, I love the chemistry between her and Robert Pattinson. I also thought, and you know, I have this. I also thought they borrowed a number of scenes from Batman Returns. I mean, when Catwoman is on top of Batman, I'm like, and it's you invert that. I'm like, I've seen this before. I know exactly
Yes.
what this scene is. But I thought that they had the best chemistry. They had some of the best chemistry I've seen on screen in any of a DC film. Honestly, like it just was just natural and brooding, and they both. It's like they want to, but they don't. And again, Batman Returns. I thought that Michael Giacchino's score and a little bit with how he does the instrumental part for Catwoman sounded just like Batman Returns. Again, it's a little bit of sampling. It was just enough. But then the score for the Batman, it's like, I was like, why? I love it, but yet it sounds familiar. And does anyone, it like you listen to it and then you put Darth Vader's March like next to it. It actually kind of sounds like Darth Vader's March if you slow down Darth Vader's March. Like we can't do it because we'll get booted off the air. But it's like these are things I'm not mad at, though. I mean, if you're going to again to sample and almost do like a little subliminal thing for any films, do it for exceptional films. Because there have been a number of movies and I'm like, really, you're going to steal the storyline for that piece of crap? Like, okay.
Well, that's another thing I did love about it was that I thought the music and the score, I thought it was great. I thought I really did. Loved it. Now, when you mentioned something about that, I wanted to ask a question about kind of stealing a little bit of scenes from Batman Returns. I thought there was a scene that was very, very similar with Catwoman. Was there not a scene where Selena Kyle pulls her head up and it almost looks like the same scene where Michelle Pfeiffer does it in the, I thought when I saw that, I thought I saw that is the same as Michelle. I thought I saw that. And I wanted to ask if you guys got that same vibe because
as long as I don't see the penguin eating fish, I'm good. That's all I don't need. I don't see him eating fish from Batman Returns and the new one. So
yeah, definitely.
And again, I mean, if you're gonna like, not steal, but if you're gonna borrow from someone and pay homage, like bow down to Michelle Pfeiffer. Like I love her Catwoman. So yeah, there were a number of times that it's like I saw a little bit of the influence there. But I mean, Eartha Kitt, Julie Newmar, Halle Berry. I know. She's such a great actress. I just don't know why she did that. And then of course,
the walk, doing the walk as Catwoman, Halle Berry, that was worth it enough for me. I mean, the movie was horrible, but I could watch her do that.
I never saw it. Never want to see it. I'm quite good.
You can just see that 8 seconds of her just walking.
Listen, I can watch other movies if I want to see her walk that are Academy Award winning. Just saying.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's true, but still, there's something about. I mean, even if you just watch just that, that's pretty.
But
cool.
you know what, Oz, and this is kind of offshoots what you just said, but in a different direction. One of the things that was brought up that was really interesting, and the second viewing for it is, it's all about perspective, because if you watch, and you were talking about how shots mirrored from Batman Returns to Batman, let's just stay in the Batman film with Matt Reeves, that universe. How much does the Riddler and Batman mirror each other? The voyeuristic aspect in the beginning, and then he's watching Catwoman in the window, which is, he's Batman. Oh, we understand. Guess what? It's a little creepy.
It's creepy.
Yeah. And then they both come out of the shadows. And I got to tell you, I love how the Riddler is introduced. He's sitting there in the dark and not even moving. And also, it's just slight movements. It's so beautiful how they introduce him. But again, Batman comes out of the shadows. And by the way, the Robin Tidbit, the kid who has the half painted face, guess what role he voices in the animated show?
Oh, does he? He voices Robin.
He voices Robin.
I did not know that.
I think Tim Drake. Yeah. So just a hint. Maybe that's our future Robin. You don't know.
Now, what did you guys think of Alfred?
Yeah.
Alfred, I thought Alfred was okay, but I mean, we really didn't see him enough. I mean, I maybe we'll see more in the second one. I don't know, but I didn't really see Batman depending on Alfred like we're used to seeing in this one.
You're not my father.
I know it, but thing is, I feel like since he's such a younger Batman, that
Maybe that hasn't developed yet.
yeah, that I mean, it's still the rebelling because again, he had that line. It's like, the board's waiting for you. You have to manage it. It's like, take it. I don't care. It's like, oh, you're such a little bitch. It's like you grew up with this money, and this guy is the one helping you out. So it's like, he's trying to help you, and he's the one who broke all the riddles and whatnot. And
yeah.
I love that he knows all the secrets, not only Bruce's, but also Thomas and Martha's. Like, he's a key holder. It's like, if anybody actually wanted to know what's going on in Batman, they really should just not try and kill Alfred, but actually like maybe kidnap him and get all the secrets out. But I know he won't do.
No, he won't. And I think one of the things that we should expect with the next movie, and there's a reason why, again, Andy with Andy Serkis, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Andy Serkis and Colin Farrell were casted, and also Paul Dano to a certain extent, but we'll see what happens. Those two may just end up staying in Arkham until we see sometime in the second film, maybe the third film. I think that was just a cookie like the car chase. That is a nice set piece and Easter egg, but doesn't lead to a whole lot other than what it serves in the film. But there's a reason why Andy Serkis and Colin Farrell were casted, and casted in smaller roles, because whatever they're doing, Matt Reeves is building up for the second film, where all of a sudden Batman goes from "You're not my father" to "Alfred, I need you in the Batcave. Let's go."
Oh yeah.
It's going to happen at Evolution, just like the Penguin is going to take over the underworld, and you're going to have him team up with whoever the next villain is. I've heard it's Mr. Freeze is the next villain, which ought to be really interesting about. And again, there are spoilers on this, and I'm not saying that's true. I heard that as a rumor, but it's definitely something that I find interesting, because you're going from a very logically based serial killer to something a little more supernatural and scientific in the next one. And it's going to lead to some weird doors opening for the next movie. But Andy and Colin, they're cast in small roles because Matt Reeves always looks to build those characters. Look at the Planet of the Apes films.
Yeah.
It's the same exact thing that he does with it. And I mean, we know how great Andy Serkis is, and now we get to see it in more of a role, and it's wonderful, Oz and Katie.
I can see that. I mean, I like the fact that Andy Serkis had like a smaller role in this, because again, like you're saying, I see him in 2 and 3 having
Right.
more and more, like Batman leaning on him more, because I feel like I feel like he knows that he can't trust anyone. I mean, his parents were shot in front of him. I also like the fact that they didn't do that. They didn't go through the whole backstory, because we know it. We watched
there's
it.
no
We watched the
flashbacks
Pearls.
or nightmares or any of that, daydreaming
I
type
do
stuff.
think it's funny, because I've seen people since this is shot in 2022 that Bruce Wayne would have been 2002 when this happened. And it's like, okay, so what movie was Bruce Wayne leaving that scared him, that made that got his parents shot?
Yes,
like,
what was the movie?
yeah, and I'm like, I don't know. I want to know, but also it's like, oh my God, that makes me feel so old. It's like, this is the first time that I'm like, my God, I'm older than Batman. It's like, oh, ew, I don't want to be older than Batman.
Oh my God. But you know what though? That's another thing, and I'll bring up another aspect of the editing. They tried so hard to alleviate anything that was Bruce Wayne, the Playboy, other than him going to the funeral, because it served the story of him being Batman in the mystery neo-noir, that whoever the maid is in the house basically says that the investors are here, the accounts are here, and it goes, oh, let them in, and then cuts to a completely different scene.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, don't even include that. Just do the cipher and then move on to the next scene. Don't tell me about this. I mean, come on. Yeah, the film is beautiful. It's got so much great stuff about it. And the string and harp that goes as part of the score is absolutely lovely. But man, I'm sorry that the editing is fucking killing me. Excuse me.
No.
Oh no, hey, we it's all right, man, because when I put this, we carry explicit tags, so we're good. We're good.
No, I mean the editing wasn't my favorite part. The production design was.
Oh, it's
Like
beautiful.
as
Yeah.
soon as I left, the production design and makeup, it's like I told everyone in the audience, so like, and I just saw my first Oscar nominations of the year. It's like, if these do not get Oscar nominations for production design and makeup, then what the hell is going on? Because I mean, all of the like gothic baroque, like inside, you know, Wayne Manor, which then end up being like some almost a penthouse kind of thing, which is also
Right.
very different.
Mhm.
I just thought was gorgeous and so
Beautiful.
like, and I mean the details and everything was just amazing. I also, this is to me, and I mean you guys tell me if I'm wrong, I would say this is definitely the most violent the Batman that has ever been out. Like I know the Dark Knight, you know,
Yeah.
it alludes to stuff with
I
like
mean,
the
it's
pencil in the eye and stuff. But this one, you actually, I mean, you've got a man who is beaten with a rug tile, a
Yeah,
rug thing.
I can't
Yeah.
remember. I don't
then-
know what that thing was called. Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
meant to be a serial killer mystery film, Katie, at the beginning. So I agree with you. But I think that's one of the things about it. They make the violence so extreme in the beginning, but by time you reach the end of the film, where he goes from being vengeance to hope, and he switches his role because he's leading out with that torch through the darkness with all the people. He rescues the mayor's son and, you know, redeeming himself. I mean, it's meant to be that way. But it does bring up something, Katie, I did not think about till right now. And if I'm Matt Reeves, I'm casting whoever the actor is as Robin. I'm bringing Robin in. And you know what I'm doing with either Robin or Batgirl or Jim Gordon's daughter? I'm having the Riddler come in the third film and do something uber violent to her.
Oh yeah.
And like whether it's paralyzing her, whether it's shooting Robin, because you know what? Matt Reeves is not afraid to go ahead and push that envelope. And by the way, Katie, to go off of your point about the production line, I can agree more. If anything, we know that the Batman will win the most conservative aspect of electricity, because every house in that film has one or two light bulbs, because nothing is lit. It's all grim. It's all
so
dark.
dark. Yeah.
It's
very,
the
very
best
dark.
energy saving city in the entire world. It's unbelievable how dark it is, but yet the lighting is so smart and so precise that you look at it, unless you're sitting here, you know, kind of making a joke about it, it's lit so well. It's unbelievable.
Oh yeah. Well, and I also love, and this is something, and I feel like it's like it started in 82 with Blade Runner, but it's like rain equals crime. It's like when it's raining, that's when violence happens. It's like if that was the case, then Seattle and Hawaii would be the most crime-ridden cities in the entire world. Because
Imagine what
I mean,
the cats and dogs would be.
I mean, it rains all the time. But that
I
was
mean,
the other thing that
even
made me
Florida,
think,
man, it rains every day.
Yeah.
I mean, it may only be 10 minutes, but it
Yeah.
rains every day. I mean,
and that's the other
Yeah.
thing that made me think of Watchmen, you know, with the voiceover, which again, brand
Yeah.
new. They've never
Love
had,
that.
you know,
Oh, I
which
love that.
I loved it. But then like seeing the, you know, instances of violence and stuff. And I love the fact that even though the violence was happening, once you see the bat signal in the air, it's like those criminals are like, crap.
Yes.
Because even if it
Exactly.
doesn't, even if they don't get stopped, there's a possibility. It's like, okay, I need to stop what I'm doing because he could be here any second and
Mhm.
stuff. Also, I gotta tell you guys, living in Chicago,
I'm sure.
a little bit triggered by some of those scenes because they looked a little too real. And then I know I noticed a number of the like the scenic scenes are filmed in Chicago, but just
Right.
with the violence and all that stuff, I mean, it really did remind me of like, this is sort of like true, very, you know, true to today. And again, that seems similar to Joker. I actually would love it if how do you say his last name?
I think it's Cohen,
maybe.
Cohen, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love it if he was actually Two-Face, and then they got Joaquin Phoenix to be the Joker.
No, see, I don't want that, because I'll tell you something. I've interviewed Barry in Austin Fantastic Fest when it was the film The Killing of a Sacred Deer with Colin Farrell.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, I can't wait for them to reunite because they were fantastic. You don't bring in him for Two-Face. That's a huge mistake because he is an actor, and you saw the Killing of a Sacred Deer, and you saw even in the Eternals, and I'll put those two because those are his most known films since coming over, I think from Ireland, if I'm correct. He has that devious side to him. And if you look at even though it's barely lit, again, they only have one light bulb in the entire building there, except for the one room. It's the whole fact is you can see the cut of his face all the way up. You can see that he is definitely going as the Joker. Because Two-Face, you need someone, and I always loved the idea that they talked about Hugh Jackman being Two-Face. I would love if Hugh Jackman was Two-Face because he is such an amazing performer with so much class. And then to see him flip the switch like in Prisoners, oh my God, it's terrifying to see what he would be able to do with that particular role. I mean, it's crazy to think, but I think the casting of that, but you know, Oz, I have a question for you because you brought up the Batmobile.
Okay.
What did you two think of his armor? Because I'll tell you what, a close-up shot of a double barrel there. I mean, he's down and out. How many bullets did he take to that armor? I mean, it was constantly, and it's in the trailer also, where they're firing at him with machine guns, and he's walking through all of that. And even the armor, am I wrong? And Catie, you got the shirt on. Is that two pieces of a gun? Because it looks like the car and his armor is all made from like guns melted down or bulletproof armor. Maybe it's year 2 and he's just beginning to develop the technology in his armor for future battles. Because that's one of the things about Batman that I love. He's a detective. He's trained in martial arts. And he has gadgets. He has no superpowers. The reason why Batman has become almost supernatural, almost like immortal, almost like a human version of Superman without powers is because he's put up against Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Superman, The Flash, everyone's superpowers. So you've got to emphasize him more for what he has, almost making him like the Wolverine of the DC universe to a certain extent. But what did you think about the armor and the way that they created that? Because I thought it was fascinating with that. It
was very different than we're used to seeing. It looked more tactical to me.
Right.
And it's funny you mentioned the thing about the guns because I don't remember Batman ever carrying a gun other than, his what do you to shoot the, harpoons or whatever.
Bat lasso thing.
Battering kind of thing.
There was a real quick scene in the film where he's either bent and he stands up and it turns, and it looks like on his belt he has what is a magazine holder.
Yeah. Now
what he's using it for, because I noticed it right away. I was like, why does he have a he doesn't carry a gun. Why does he have a magazine? Now, okay, maybe somebody will say he's not using it to carry magazines, he's using it to put other stuff in there. Okay, that I could buy. But I don't know. To me, they looked empty. It didn't look like there was anything in it. It looked like they were empty. I'm just like, why is that there? Why is that on his belt? It's just kind of like there, flopping. I don't know. It didn't look right to me. Now, maybe if they had something in it, it wouldn't have looked as weird, but I don't know. That to me looked odd.
The rest of
he got around. It, okay.
Well, not really flopping around, but I mean, but when he moves, you can see there's nothing. The Velcro comes over you can see that there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Or you're not my father.
Or if there's something there, it's way down into the magazine. I mean, I'm a gun guy, so I noticed these things. Now, maybe a lot of people saw it and did, what's he talking about? And see, watch the movie, watch it really close. There's a scene real quick where you see around his waist, and you'll see it's a 3-piece magazine holder where you put 3 magazines. Some people call them clips, which is not correct. That's a big pet peeve of mine. But that's the only part that I thought looked kind of weird. I thought the boots looked kind of badass. the thing about what you mentioned about how many shots he took to the armor and everything, way too many. I mean, that's you got to suspend your disbelief there, because even if it's all armor and it has fabric over the armor, at least the black fabric should be ripped or apart where you can see the Kevlar underneath it or something that's protecting. I mean, it wouldn't just be like,
right.
like he walked out of Hot Topic and here I am, I mean, that's all I mean, I don't really have any complaints.
I love that Hot Topic.
I think he got it at Gadzooks. I don't know. I mean, that looked like more of a
those
Gadzooks
boots
outfit
definitely look like they were from Hot Topic, though.
Yeah.
But I didn't really have any major complaints with the armor, but it just that little piece with the magazine, thing on the belt was kind of like a question mark. Like, why?
What about you, Catie? How are you feeling about the armor?
With the armor, I understand what you guys are saying. I mean, especially in the subway scene, he took a lot of hits. He took a lot of shots. I would have an issue with the armor if when they did that shirtless scene, if you didn't see like all the bruises, like you could see where he got hit. Mm-hmm. I would have a problem if you didn't have that, because it's like, it's basically supposed to be, a bulletproof vest and whatnot with like extra layer and all that stuff. But I mean, you take so many, and I mean, he is a young kid, but he's still hurt. And I think if they didn't show those bruises, I'd have a much bigger, I understand the whole thing. It's like, the disbelief stuff, but if they didn't have that, then I'd be like, oh, come on.
Well, they should have darkened those up a lot more than they did, because it would have been a lot. I mean, it looked like he just got like maybe kind of punched a couple of times. I mean,
they were fresh. They were fresh. I mean, it's only like what, the span of a week, this entire film.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I think, and I want to make this known that I have not heard this. So if this ends up being a theory, I want to say you heard it first here on the show. Two things. One, is this film connected to Reanimator and Dr. West? Because I gotta tell you something, the shit he pumped into himself, okay, when he was getting it after the double barrel to the chest was some fucked up shit. That was a steroid, which means, are we gonna see Bane? Maybe that's the steroid that creates Bane that he's been kind of addicted to, because one of the things we can say about this Bruce Wayne, this incarnation, not only does he fall in the Kurt Cobain goth emo kind of vein with it, we don't know what it is. Perhaps the armor is reflective of his family, his mom and dad's death, and he basically puts a gun around him as a way of part of the vengeance. It could be, because the only time he doesn't use guns, there's even a line in the movie where Jeffrey Wright, who does a tremendous James Gordon, says, well, you've got the gun, and Batman goes, I don't use guns. But yet it looks like he's wrapped up in a freaking Kevlar pistol in his entire thing. But I will say this, I was shocked when all of a sudden he took that out and he pumped himself with it. And I went, that kind of looks like the green stuff that pumps through Bane. So maybe Bane somewhere is in the works here later on. And I thought it was really fascinating, because the Batsuit itself, and Oz, I agree with you. There's a lot of questions on what's involved. It's what they call plot armor. The Batsuit does whatever the plot needs it to do. And in this case, it needs to have an empty clip holster for it to put his lunch in. I don't know, but all of a sudden having that hole where he inserts that stuff and he jumps back up. I mean, it kind of opened up a lot of questions for me about where they're going to go with this. And what in the 20 years before this, what was he doing? Was he addicted to drugs? Did he try and kill himself? We don't know. I mean, so it's going to be really interesting.
Again, with the shirtless scene, I mean, he's got a number of scars. And I mean, they don't look like, here's a tattoo I had removed and stuff like that. I mean, he's got some scars that were like not.
I love Mom and Dad. Did he remove that one? I love Mom and Dad.
Crisscross, cross them out. But they don't, it's like, where he was wounded, they don't look like they were, it's not like he went to a plastic surgeon or even possibly the hospital. I mean, they definitely look like there was maybe some homemade stitches that have healed over by then. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a gnarly scar you got there, Bruce. Like, and I mean, again, we talked about this. It's like this is one of the first films where you don't have the whole backstory of what happened. What happened to him, but they make sure they don't have to. You don't let the audience like relive that whole thing about Martha and Thomas, which we've all seen like at least 5 times.
Well, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And it's great that we don't see it. And I think that's part of the brilliance of the Riddler's plan. And I'll tell you something. Hats off to crafting. And Paul Dano is such one of the best young actors of our time. He's got such power, and yet he's so unassuming. And correct me if I'm wrong, he was in The Girl Next Door, right?
Yes. And
he was in the girl.
You talked about Prisoners. He was in Prisoners.
Exactly.
I mean, his performance in that was outstanding.
And I mean, to be able to build this up and give legitimate reasons why he is done. It's not like I'm just insane. The origin story is that he was in a business or he was working for someone and he got let go and they stole his secrets and he turned to crime. Even in the Gotham series, it's a better origin story than what it is in the comic books. But this is fantastic because you have a human face to a monster that's been created. He was made based on everything that's happened to him, and he took a turn down the dark thing. But what's even more terrifying, again, spoiler, is the fact that Matt Reeves basically takes a reflective mirror and goes, hey, you see what happens with social media? You see what happens when there's fringe groups? You know what? Hey, we just had an event about 1.5 years ago. You know what? Oh, let's talk about this. And I think Matt Reeves, presentation of what the Riddler is and the people influences and holding it until the third act, keeping that monster in the closet, like Jaws. I mean, it's brilliant. So in essence, it's kind of a horror-esque film that we're looking at in the way that Matt Reeves portrays him. So I don't want to say it's totally, because if you say that, Catie, guess what? Oh, superhero films can't be horror films.
I know. Don't go there. But I mean, he also, it's like, talk about capitalism. Like, look at the whole the political aspect of all that stuff, like how it's a corrupt city and how Batman, it's like he wants the city to be better, but he just wants, himself to be better. And then, I mean, there's a number of triggering moments in this film. Like the whole, spoiler, that whole like possibility of a giant, spoiler, the whole possibility of a possible giant mass shooting where everyone has gathered together. It's like, I was watching that and having palpitations. I'm like, you are not, are we going to do, wow, you're really almost going to do this. And that's like a major trigger warning that could be for a number of people. Like, that's freaking dark. And I mean, I know it's been said, I said it as soon as I got done, this is definitely the darkest tale of the Dark Knight, in my opinion. I mean, and this is only the beginning.
Without question, it's definitely the darkest.
Oh yeah, sure. It's like it's going to get just freaking Onyx, I could say, with number 2 and 3, because if this is where Matt Reeves is going, and I think it's Matt Craig, is that the other screenwriter?
I think so, Matt Craig,
yeah. Boys, keep doing what you're doing. I hope it's like, if this is just the the amuse-bouche of where we're going with this Batman saga. I cannot wait until like the main course and everything else. Like this, I think, is definitely going to be an amazing series of films if this is just the way the first one goes. And I love, everything about the characters and everything about, everything. It's like they really should do an Oscar for casting, because I don't see how nothing about this, they couldn't have done anything different with the casting that can make it even better than it was. Like, even like the random police commissioner with that, who sounded like he had like a Chicago accent. Like, he's like, Gordon, we're going to get you. And I'm like, who one, who are you and why do you need to go? I mean, are you from the South Side? It's like, what's going on? I love your accent. I love what's going on. I'm again, spoiler, sorry you didn't make it, into the middle of the film, but I don't know who you are. I love it. That would be great if that turned out that was Colin Farrell. Who knows? Who knows? I mean,
one other thing I will say about this, and this goes back to what I said about being a horror film. Nice nod to Saw.
yes.
Nice nod with the traps and
Yeah.
the fact it's not necessarily traps like we don't get to see a lot of the stuff, and that's one of the things that I love about this film is not only is it a build through the 2 hours and 50 minutes of the film, but it's also the fact that Matt Reeves understands where to place the visuals and where to let the audience's mind take over. And you can only imagine, you talk about the commissioner, and that's what spawned the thought, Catie, is imagine having those mice, those rats in that maze, ripping your face apart. But we never see that. We never see that. Instead, we see what the madness is for it. We see what the clues are for it, but we never see. Now, is it that trap a little too clean? Maybe it's a little too clean after having your face gnawed off, supposedly, with it. But I will say
a
this.
little bit, because
it's a little bit, but it's pretty amazing. Also, the casting. I mean, I agree with you, Laura. As soon as I saw Paul Dano being cast, I was like, this is going to be fun. Jeffrey Wright is as Jim. It's just like you know what? If you went ahead and recasting, this is going to sound sacrilege, but I don't care because I'm a huge X-Men fan. But if you went ahead and you recast it, Professor Xavier, and you found the right, what's the guy? Giancarlo, what's his name?
Giancarlo Esposito.
Thank you. Talk about a guy that would be a phenomenal Professor Xavier. And that's, nowadays, studios and casting are making those decisions to change up what the landscape is, because now there's canyon to what these universes are, but with the multiverses now, with the aspect of different ideas of of how these characters are seen, having Jeffrey Wright play Jim Gordon was phenomenal, because he was just like Batman. It turned into a little bit of now a buddy comedy, because him and Batman are kind of on the same intellectual level in this film. It's not Batman's out there solving everything. It's him kind of stumbling upon things. Oh yes, this carpet tool. My uncle just happens to lay carpet. He just happens to be there. And that's one of the things I love, because this development of Batman as well as Jim Gordon are going to be parallel to each other going forward. And it's going to make for a really, really interesting series ahead.
Agreed.
Completely agree. And you talking about that cop and stuff like that, again, spoiler, but I love how, I mean, it's such a very almost fourth person sidewall relationship, but I love how his hatred towards the Batman, when you see him in the first scene with the mayor, and then when you get to where the revelation comes, and it's because he sort of has a respect for Batman.
Right.
Within, again, this is 7 days, because it's to see that evolve. It's just a very small side story, but if that hadn't happened, Bruce wouldn't have figured out, all the Riddler's plans and stuff like that. And the fact that the Riddler still doesn't know who Batman is.
You're right. That's a big question at the end. It's just like in the film Shane. Was Shane shot, or did he just go off into sunset? And when the Riddler goes, Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
And he goes ahead and does that. At first you think, oh, he knows. And then you realize, no, he really doesn't know what it is. But you could easily interpret it that he does know, and he's playing with them now. And that's one of the things I love about the Spider-Man movies we have now. And the fact that in a lot of the Spider-Man films, as well as the cartoons, there's always a character that finds out who Spider-Man is, but shows the restraint in revealing it, whether it's the fact that he likes that power over his nemesis, or the fact, in fact, the Vulture, Michael Keaton, speaking of tying back to Batman, Michael Keaton knowing who Peter Parker is. Maybe now, we don't know, because of the whole spell thing and stuff like that. But the point is that maybe Paul Dano is the Riddler, knowing who he is. It's really interesting, to say the least. And by the way, hats off again to the lighting of that diner scene when they approach the Riddler. so beautiful, so haunting. It's like a work of art. It really is.
Well, it
Mwah.
was. It reminded, isn't it Thomas Hopper
Yep.
who did that diner? It's like it
Yep.
reminded me of that. And that,
Yep.
and who was it? Someone, I think I read someplace that the in the opening of the film, the little mom and pop kind of 7-Eleven that
Right.
got burglar, where the guy went in and put the mask on. I think that the title of it was called Good Time, as like a
Right.
as like a nod to the Safdie brothers and whatnot.
Ah, that's awesome.
I need to re-look at that because it's like I thought there was something about it and I just couldn't picture it. And then it's like, oh yeah, and I saw this. I'm like, oh, that's good. Okay, yeah.
Well, one of the things I will say, Catie, because you make me think about it. One of the things about Matt Reeves' films, and you have to, and I interviewed him for Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I interviewed, was it Rise or Dawn? No, it was War for the Planet of the Apes. The last one. I interviewed him for that film. And one of the things he said during the interview is that he lays those breadcrumbs, those little specks that you're going to see later development. We've talked a little bit about that during this breakdown of it. But the reason why I bring up is, remember those characters that are at the beginning of the film spooked by the bat signal, which also is put together haphazardly, just like his car or the vehicle, just like his outfit, everything. And it's put together because it's in the year 2. He's just establishing himself. But remember, I would love to know who's under that weird, Nightmare Before Christmas mask. And because the gang with the Skull Gang, that's the actual characters in the comic book. They're not like made up. That's characters from I don't remember what they're called. Maybe it's the Skull Gang, something like that. But they're actually, they actually have a part in, from what I understand, in the comics. So watch out for the ones that are pushed away, because there's ones that are spray painting broke on the bank, stuff like that. We'll see if they return to it, because Matt Reeves leaves breadcrumbs, and we see with the Planet of the Apes films, we see with his other work, we see things develop later on.
I personally love what he did with the Planet of the Apes films.
Oh God, it's so good.
I mean, just each one getting just grittier and grittier, and that whole thing is, man against animal, and then it just always equaling man against man. It's like, oh, why do we have to be so stupid? Yeah, no, I mean, and especially that last one, and with Woody Harrelson and everything. God. I mean, I think he's a great director. And I know, like, with COVID, that they had to wait certain weeks because of, people getting tested, and then also Robert Pattinson getting COVID and stuff like that. And my thing, it's like, if this is, I don't want another pandemic to happen, and I do not want them to have to delay and all that stuff. But it's like, look, I want there to be another one, but I don't want them to rush it. Because one of the things I always say, I never want them to try and make this like, oh, we're going to get this money out and all that stuff. And this is really good. So let's, crank out another one. I always have 4 words for that. True Detective season 2. Never, ever, ever. It's like True Detective so good. Then 6 months later, True Detective season 2, I'm like, no.
Well, I will say this, Catie, and this goes over said, by the way, shameless plug. It was for War for the Planet of the Apes. So you can hear that conversation on SoundCloud. Just saying. Anyway, but with the fact that when you talk about that, I think they did one thing right though with COVID, and this is where Tenet was a train wreck. Christopher Nolan's Tenet was a train wreck in itself, both reverse and going forward. I'll be here all week, folks. But with that being said, thank you. But the point I'm getting to is the Batman came out at the right time.
Yeah.
People are coming back to the theaters, and both screenings I went to, they were packed houses. People were all over the place.
Mine was pretty packed too.
And you know what? It's a movie that needs to be seen on the big screen. I don't know if it needs to be seen in IMAX, mind you, but it definitely, the Dolby sound.
I think IMAX would have been really cool.
Screening would be amazing. So,
I think what you were saying, Dolby sound. I think that that would really, I didn't get to see it in Dolby Sound. I really wish they would have done that. That would have been a whole nother level. But yeah, I do feel this is definitely a film that needs to be seen on the big screen.
Yeah,
And
I would have been, I
actually-
think I would have been disappointed if I saw it, on streaming or something like that. I'm glad I saw it on the big screen. I didn't get to see it like our theater, Cinemax. They have it's called XD or whatever. Costs a little bit more. I think the second time, I think I'm going to go back and see it a second time. I think I'm going to go and spring for the XD for this one for the second time around.
It's worth it.
And just to see, especially since I loved how much the music alone, makes it worth me wanting to pay the extra for the XD. So just
again,
just alone.
Music. I mean, seriously, it is kind of crazy that seeing it in February and the quality of this story and everything about it, but knowing that I'm like watching it and thinking it's like, all right, music, makeup, production design, Oscar, at least nomination to see it, and like to have that in my head so early in the year is just kind of crazy. And the fact that, it's, a comic book movie, which it's not, but I don't think of that like with a DC film, especially with the past years and whatnot. But these DC characters, it's you got to get darker. You got to make it. You don't need to make it Marvel.
DC has not had a very good track record, but I will say one thing: as soon as the lights came up in my theater, the first thing out of my mouth was, "That is the best DC movie I have seen, and I can't tell you how long."
And one thing I will say about that, Catie and Oz, is, DC needs to embrace the darkness. I agree with that. They should have pushed the Injustice scenario. And if you're a fan of the game, you're a fan of the comic, that storyline, it is one of the best storylines where Superman turns bad and Wonder Woman turns bad. And, it's that conflict of good versus evil. We had shades of it in Superman, Batman, and the Justice League movie on what could happen with Darkseid, but they need to go full Injustice and then go back into the light. I think that's what you do. But that's another point entirely. One of the things that I think this film, the Batman, did, the first thing I said when I came out, because Susan, who's my girlfriend, she is from Ecuador. And the first thing I said to her was, boy, I learned some Spanish tonight, because Colin Farrell, if anything he served great comic relief in the movie. When he's sitting there with Jim Gordon and Batman going, "Don't you understand remedial Spanish?"
Yeah.
It's hilarious. And because the cat joke kind of falls flat.
Right.
You've got a lot of cats, but when he does that, because he's such a talented actor, it's just perfect. The timing's perfect. And there's every once in a while, you'll see a little joke put in here. And the Nolan movies did that too. You'll see something like that. Oh, if you ever take a day off, Alfred, I'll suspect something, because it's meant to be levity with it. And that's something that a lot of DC movies had nothing to do with. And in the Joker, it's not meant to be that way with it. In fact, the humor is meant to be macabre in it. In the Batman, you need that break every once in a while with it. And they're really smart in doing it. Where a lot of the other movies with Zack Snyder, because he's embracing darkness, there's no levity in it, or the levity falls flat because it's just not delivered right. God bless the fact that I learned that and la and L, all those things. Now I know what a rat with wings is all about.
That's true. I forgot about that. It's like, I don't know real Spanish. And then when they leave him, it's like, hey, you're gonna, and then that's the only time he kind of like waddles. Like, what? You're gonna leave me here? What's going on? You can't untie me. What's going on?
Oh, it's such a great scene. That part is really great. And again, though, it doesn't pay off too much, but it'll pay off in the second movie, because now you're even seeing how quick and how intelligent the Penguin is. He's not some mope like they said in the movie. And as soon as I heard that, Catie, I thought of the movie Mope from Cinepocalypse.
Yeah.
I love that movie so much. It never came out on release yet, as far as you know. But you know what? It shows that the Penguin is so much more, and he's going to seize power in the next film.
Yes. Oz, if you have not seen that, Mope.
Oh, God. So good. Oh, so
honestly,
good.
that's one of my favorite performances during that festival. One of my favorite films.
That was my favorite film of that year. My favorite film of that year was Mope. I could not, Oz, I could not stop laughing during that film. And it's not meant to be a funny film,
Yeah.
but it really is. It's kind of it's a psychological film, and it's based on real events about this Mope, and his friend who are trying to be porn actors, but they're on the low ring of the totem pole, where they're basically, and we won't go in things, but they do the things that, there's one scene where, you want to be a star, okay, let her kick you in the balls. And the whole scene for me is them getting kicked in the balls and the fact that they're willing to do anything. But it builds into a story where the lead character, Nathan's the actor. I forget what his last name, I'll look it up. But he is someone who mentally, he's coming unhinged. And by the end of the movie, it turns into kind of a scary psychological horror film.
Yeah.
It's terrifying to see just him break down, and the whole story you didn't know about him, because all you focus on is he's a Mope. He's trying to, you feel empowered. Oh, he's going to do it. Even though it's really crazy, he's going to do it. And he's so fun, and I can empathize. And then you realize, oh, fuck, that he's not okay. And there's things you don't know about him. And it's just a brilliant film. It played Sundance. Was it Sundance?
Yeah.
It played Sundance, and it did really well, but never been on distribution yet that I've seen.
I mean, I don't know. I think if they cut the trailer right, it's just all about the marketing. I mean,
it's not available. I wouldn't be able to find it on any streaming.
I'll tell you in a second. Give me a second. I'll tell you.
But
I don't think it's released.
Clayton Roner, who, if old school, just one of the guys, and April Fool's Day plays his adopted father.
Yeah.
So good. He was my best supporting actor. If I could do nomination, well, I think I did. I actually did my little blonde in front. What I thought was the best of the fest for all that stuff. He was my best supporting actor. He was so good. And
I take it back. It's on Showtime if you want to watch it.
I've got Showtime. I've got Showtime.
It's on Showtime Prime, and it's Nathan Stewart Jarrett, who is the lead actor. He plays the lead character, Steve Driver. That's who it is. And he's just phenomenal. He's so good. It's unbelievable. And I agree. Totally.
Did you say Steve Driver?
Steve Driver. That's his name. Steve Driver.
That's funny because have you seen the change up? I know we're getting way off topic here and we're going long on time. But have you seen the change up with Jason Bateman and
Yes.
Okay, well, because that was Ryan Reynolds. He was doing the softcore porn. That was, they caught his character's name. They go, oh, Steve Driver, you perfect bastard. I mean, that was his name.
It's probably taken from it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it's not the same character, though. It's not the same character.
Well, I mean, that was a total slapstick, crude guy humor comedy. But I mean, I thought it was funny because I've never heard the name Steve Driver anywhere else other than what you just said, and it just popped in. I was like, that can't be coincidence. But
so Oz, so what are we doing here, man? How you feeling, man? You ready to go fight for vengeance or justice?
I'm ready for another Batman movie is what I'm ready for. I didn't hate it. I mean, I enjoyed the film. I'm anxious to see what else they do with it. Even though he's not my favorite Batman, I mean, he wasn't a bad Batman at all in any stretch of my, I mean, that's what I was going to ask you guys. I mean, is this your favorite Batman now? What?
Nah.
No,
like the movie or the character or the actor playing the character.
The character, yeah. Is this your favorite Batman
characterization of Batman?
No,
mine will always be Michael Keaton.
Thank you.
Only because I think he did an excellent job. Because I mean, look, you can go through the whole thing with like Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, West. Oh my God, Adam West and whatnot. I thought Adam West was a great Bruce Wayne, kind of a Batman.
Yep.
I thought Val Kilmer was a great Batman, not that great of a Bruce Wayne. I thought George Clooney was a good Bruce Wayne. With the Batman. I
See,
thought
some of them I didn't like them for either. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't like George Clooney for either. I didn't like Val Kilmer for either. Christian Bale, I thought was a very good young Batman.
I
Not
thought he
a
was a good.
not a good Bruce Wayne at all.
It's the whole. There's still like there's so much healing. It's like you would think with all those billions of dollars there'd be some therapy in there too, but
Yeah.
apparently not. But I thought that Michael Keaton did an excellent job, equally Bruce Wayne and Batman, especially. And I think maybe it's because he's a little bit older. You know, he looks damn good in a tuxedo. Let me tell you that. But also, he's like that kind of goofiness as Bruce Wayne that I love, especially when he's with Selena Kyle, and he kind of is like, "Wait, what?" And which is like, "Oh God, you're such a dork, but you're also cute and you're rich." But then he does an amazing Batman. So yeah, it's for me, it's Michael Keaton.
Yeah, I will say.
Same for me. I mean, he's the only one that I've ever felt was as equally good as Batman. Granted, he didn't have the athleticism. I mean, not that he's not athletic enough to do it, but there wasn't a whole lot of martial arts type stuff and whatever like the Christian Bale films had, but he was as equally as good as Batman as he was as Bruce Wayne, and believable in both. I mean, it came through, and I think part of it is what you said. He's a little bit older. He's done every kind of acting role that there is. I mean, he broke in really with kind of comedy, slapstick, Mr. Mom, Johnny Dangerously,
right?
Kind of films.
Johnny Dangerously.
I love Johnny
Dangerously.
I love Johnny Dangerously. I got the DVD over here.
You farting asshole!
Ice hole.
Your ice hole. I kill you. So great. Oz, I will say this. I think the best Batman overall is Kevin Conroy, who's done the animated series. He's the best Batman, period. But for the live action, Michael Keaton's the best because they allowed him to explore as much Bruce Wayne as Batman in those films. That's where he's with it. But I'm going to tell you something. Robert Pattinson wasn't a bad Batman, but he wasn't even in the top 5 best performances or characters in his own film. The Penguin was better. Catwoman was better. Jim Gordon was better. Paul Dano was definitely better. And maybe even Barry Cohen as the Joker was better than he was. And he was in it 1 minute. He was in 1 minute. He's in 1 minute. So he was a very good Batman, but he's a Batman that I think we need to return to this after the second film to really see how we feel about him. Because if we had said, oh, it's going to be Michael Keaton just in the first Batman, and that's it, I'm not necessarily sure he's better than Christian Bale. I'm not. It took Batman Returns opened up an entirely different doorway for him, and he was able to get a love interest that wasn't that was actually his equal in the movie, instead of just being, a one-night fling that was buzzing around him the entire time. I'm sorry, but that's what she really is.
Technically, she is a photojournalist that is very accomplished,
Oh, she sets women back how many decades?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that script kind of set women back.
I agree. Exactly.
Although she's got a great scream. I got to give her that. Kim Basinger had an amazing scream. And yeah, I mean, Vicky Vale is, she tried to hold her own and whatnot, but it's hard to be involved with a superhero. I mean, it's like, oh, why can't Bruce make it to dinner? It's like, he's busy.
But I will say this, for me, always it'll be the bat nipples and George Clooney.
Oh, God.
Do I have that one?
The bat.
Oh, my God. Do you have the bat nipples there on the cover?
No, I only have the one with. Oh, no, do it? No, I've got the Val Kilmer one.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, I'll get my back credit card and I'll buy you the one for that, I never leave my cave without it. Wait, hold on. Let's see. Do I have it? Yeah. I never leave my cave without it.
All right. Well, real quick. Well, before we wrap up, I've got a funny Zoe Kravitz story for you guys. years ago, but back between 2013 and 2016, I worked at Luxottica, who is the parent company of like Sunglass Hut, Lens Crafters, things like that. Okay. And I handled all new stores, getting their networks up and everything, and all their equipment installed. And well, we had an install set for our flagship store on Times Square, which is a big Sunglass Hut store. It had 2 levels. Only store that has like an upstairs and a downstairs escalator, everything. Well, so Zoe Kravitz decides to come in and go shopping one day, and we were set to turn over to their new POS systems, and basically had to abort and send the technicians home and everything, because she basically closed the store so she could shop.
Wow.
She rented out the store. I don't know how much. They didn't tell me how much she paid, but all they said was, "Yep, we're not going to install today. We're going to push it to next week." Yeah, Lenny Kravitz and Zoe Kravitz are here to do some shopping, and they've rented out the Sunglass Hut. I said,
Must
"Oh,
be
okay."
nice.
Yeah. So
Must
they
be-
didn't want
wow.
anybody else upstairs or downstairs while they shopped for shades. And I thought that was kind of, it's like, wow, okay.
You know what? I will say this for my final thing. Do we see Catwoman in the next movie? I don't think we do. Yeah, I think she comes back in 3 as well. I agree.
I'm telling you, I think there's going to be a tie-in with the Arkham Orphanage and all that stuff. I don't think it's coincidence that there's 2, like I said, Sins of the Father. I think there's a number of orphans that were there at the same time. I definitely think they had to have known each other and stuff, and that's going to, play a part in it. That's just me. Let's see. Let's see.
Katie, wouldn't it be awesome if Daniel Radcliffe comes back and plays Two-Face to Robert Pattinson's Batman?
Ooh.
So much good right there.
Ooh.
So
Talk
much
about
good.
casting.
There you go. You heard it here first.
Who would you see as Bane?
Bane, you know what? I would love to see Dave Bautista as Bane. I would love to see Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista could do Bane in his sleep now. Before, early on, he couldn't.
But
Drax. Now, he's one of the few that actually, or the Mountain from Game of Thrones.
Ooh.
The Mountain from Game of Thrones. Because you gotta remember, is he gonna be a scrawny like Captain America? Is he gonna be a scrawny and turn into a monster? Or Captain America in this case? Or is he gonna be straight Bane? Because I don't think I could get through another one of these. With Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy would have been great.
He was a great Bane, but you couldn't understand half of what he fucking said.
See, I like your choice as Daniel Radcliffe as Two-Face. I actually would love to see Sebastian Stan do that.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. I agree.
I don't know if
he'd be great.
I don't know if he'd be able to do that, with Marvel and DC. But honestly, after seeing
he's going to be Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, and after seeing a few films that he's been in, I mean, the market is oversaturated with the Ted Bundy story and all that stuff, but he has that quality where he could just be so charming and then just an absolute, like, just a flip of a dime, like this evil menacing. And with Two-Face, that would be, it's like, oh, I'm Mr. Charming. It's like, rah, and all that stuff. And I didn't even think about the flip of a dime, all that. But I mean, especially if Two-Face is supposed to be, he's the DA.
He's the DA. He becomes the DA.
Yeah.
I think that would be, and he's a good actor too. Like, honestly, I know some people don't.
He plays a good tortured soul, especially, with Bucky. Yeah.
He's a really good actor. And I mean, Zoe Kravitz, I know a lot of people haven't seen like her work. Like, she did amazing work in Big Little Lies. She's having her directorial debut next year with Channing Tatum. She was great in the Divergent series. She was great in the X-Men. She only had one film with that. But
Mhm.
and I mean, and the stuff with the Harry Potter with Grindelwald and all that stuff, like she was fantastic in that. And I honestly, I can't wait to see what she does. Like, I think her career is like really going to just blow the F up after this
Well-
one. The photo shoot she did with Robert Pattinson, where she's like, you know, down on her knee and like licking the milk.
Well, you know what? And I will, Katie, I will say this. What I guess the real hero of this film is the casting agent, because
Yes.
it allowed Matt Reeves to have actors who fit the roles. Paul Dano is perfect as the Riddler. Colin Farrell, surprisingly, but not really, as the Penguin.
Yeah.
And Zoe Kravitz is allowed to be Zoe Kravitz in the role of Catwoman.
Yep.
End of story. Robert Pattinson's a brooding soul. That's been his entire career for the most part. It's a wonderful one thing. And Jeffrey Wright as Jungler, and even Andy Serkis, you know, we're going to see him more as a protector in the next one. He is a great physical actor. So it's casting agent. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes, again, I like
My-
that needs to be nominated for an Oscar. Like, it's you know, there's been a number of films where they should, but honestly, this is a skill that if you get it wrong, you blow the whole film. And this is something
Absolutely.
that it's like this should be nominated for an Oscar, and you know, for casting, it really should. I know that I think they do have an award for casting in a different. It's not the Academy. I think there's another organization. that does
Ensemble.
it.
They can do the ensemble. But you know what? I'll start hashtag free the bat nipples. That's what I want for the next
All right.
movie.
One thing I want to say, because you guys got to kind of touch on your casting, like wish list kind of thing for Batman.
Mhm.
And it kind of got untouched, and I'm really glad it worked out perfectly, because I know this won't ever happen, because it looks like they've already got this guy that's going to play the Joker in the next film or
Yes,
whatever.
he's brilliant. You wait, he's brilliant.
I know, but I'm not doubting that, but I'm going to say is, if I had my wish, I would love to see this guy right here. Have you ever heard him do?
No.
Have you ever heard him do his Joker? No.
Oh God, stop.
Have you ever heard him do his Joker though?
Great, wonderful. No.
No.
I want someone. You know what? I will use this very simply, Oz.
I'm not
Colin
saying he's got
Farrell. I'm
the
sorry. No,
chops
let's do it
that
this way.
This guy does.
Heath
but-
Ledger. How many
Yeah,
thought Heath Ledger was going to be a great Joker? You don't want someone who's already known for a clown role in that. And I'm not doubting he's not
No.
David.
Oh, I wasn't even
Thornton
thinking
Howard.
about
He's
the
not
clown deal. I wasn't even thinking about the clown. I've heard him do
I'm
his
sorry, but I'm a no on
his
that.
Joker,
You
and
know
his
what?
Joker sounds amazing.
I walked out halfway through the first Terrifier. I am proud to
What?
admit that.
Oh,
Proud to admit that.
shame on you.
Shame on me,
What?
nothing.
Shame on you.
Shame on me, nothing.
All right. Hey, well, before we wrap up, I think we gotta let everybody know. Hey, if you don't have your tickets, if you're not going to be in Cincinnati in March, actually, it is March, isn't it? Holy
It
shit!
is March.
Snuck up on me. 2 weeks, March 25th through the 27th, Cincinnati Sharonville Convention Center. Unfortunately, it will be a party of postmortem of two. Catie unfortunately won't be able to be there, but Jay and I will be there as part of the Horror Hound Film Festival crew. So if you don't have your tickets, if you do have your tickets, stop in and say hi. I know
Please.
Jay and I will be doing the Q&A for Crabs when that screens. That's going to be a blast. That's going to be a blast. Sorry,
It's my
Catie.
favorite film of the festival.
So if you don't have your tickets, stop in. There's a Scream reunion, The Thing, Halloween 3, all kinds of great celebrity guests. Just the other day, that John Moxley, who from AEW,
Yes, I'm
and
so
he's-
happy Rob's gonna be there.
and he's from Cincinnati.
Yes,
He's from
And not only
Cincinnati.
him,
So
but Ruby Soho as well. Too.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
yes, yeah, tons of great guests going to be there. So
Oh,
check it out, horrorhound.com, horrorhoundweekend.com. Get your tickets. You can find them on the website, and Horrorhound on Facebook, Twitter.
yep.
So check it out. Come say
Ton.
hi.
gonna be great.
Yeah, it's gonna be, it's
Sharon'sville.
gonna be a blast. I always bring the bourbon. You can ask these guys. The after parties are great. So do that, and we hope to see you there. And I do know our next episode is probably gonna be on X. I know Katie's scheduled to go see that, and I'm gonna see it as soon as I can because I'm just an average regular. I gotta wait till shit gets released. She gets to go see shit early, like the Batman and X. She gets to go early, so be on the lookout for that. We'll definitely have an episode on that because I'm looking forward to it. I watched the trailer the other day and I was like, holy shit, balls. How did I not hear about this film?
Love me some Ty West.
All right.
I second that.
What are you looking for, Jack?
I was looking for the poster I have signed for the House of the Devil. It's somewhere in here.
Oh.
I'm still putting things together in this office. So,
Gotcha.
yes.
All right. Well, that's it for our episode today. Check us out on Facebook. If you like the episode, drop your comments, and maybe we'll read something on the air on our next episode.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Take
Thank
care,
you,
everybody. Be
guys.
safe.
Pleasant
Take care of
nightmares.
each other.
Bye.
Peace.